And welcome, everyone, to our session today on adding synchronous interaction to your Canvas course with Zoom. So what today's session will be an introduction to Zoom, to the use of Zoom, and how to use it with Canvas. You always, of course, have that option. I'm Dave Giberson, in case any of you have not met me before. Formerly, I worked as an instructional design coordinator at Online Learning Pathways at the district. I retired about 3 years ago now, goodness gracious, and have been consulting a little bit with the district over that time. And they brought me back to help out in this time of crisis, as it were, where suddenly, against all expectation, we had to take everything online in no time flat. I'm going to mute. We're starting to pick up a little background noise, so I'm going to mute everyone, but you can still unmute yourselves when you have something to say. And don't hesitate to do that. We still only have 9 people in the meeting, so we can be much more collegial today and much more informal in our communication. Right now I'm in gallery view and I see, Joe, are you all having trouble hearing me? Joe McKenzie? Just want to make sure everyone can hear.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful.
Everything is good. Everything is good, perfect.
Excellent. That's the beauty of being in what's called gallery view mode in Zoom. You can activate gallery view as long as we're just talking. Before I start sharing my screen, you can activate gallery view in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. And it gives you a Hollywood Squares type of view of the meeting, so I can see everyone. And I saw an indication that there might be some issue there with one attendee, and I was able to just ask. If you're teaching with your students, for those who have webcams, if you're in gallery view, you can see them just as you could in a live classroom. And you can sweep the classroom with a glance, as you would, as you've learned to do over the years in lecturing, and gauge the mood of the room, whether they're getting it, whether you've left them in the dust, whether you're boring the living daylights out of them, or asleep in the back of the room, and so on. You can stay in contact with your students and benefit from that 70% of communication that's nonverbal through Zoom. So Zoom really is as good in most ways as being there, as being physically present in the classroom. And you didn't have to drive to get there. You didn't have to walk half a mile from the parking lot to get to the classroom. And everybody's more relaxed there in their safe home spaces. So it's a wonderful thing.
Dave, this is John Woodard.
Hey, John.
How do I get back out of the gallery view?
There's a button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen that switches you between gallery and speaker view. And it probably says speaker view right now. If you just click on that, you'll go back to speaker view, in which, of course, you see the person who's talking.
Oh, okay. There it is. Thank you.
You bet. That's what we're here for. Great question. We'll try to keep this as informal as we possibly can. Please ask questions when you have them. We can do that when there's like 10 of us in the meeting, and we'll get more out of it in all probability. Also, please feel free to put questions in the chat tool, and I will not leave today before I answer everything that goes into the chat tool. So let me bring up a seminar outline. I'll be sharing my screen much of the day. That is Zoom's superpower. It's what converts Zoom from a video chat tool like FaceTime or something like that into a true virtual classroom. The paradigm is the same as sitting in your classroom with your laptop attached to a projector, throwing the image from your laptop screen up onto the wall. Everyone, when you share your screen in Zoom, everyone can see what's on your computer monitor, so you can carry out actual instruction this way. You can share your PowerPoint presentation. You can share pages from the textbook or anything, websites, anything you can bring up on your computer screen, you can share with your students through Zoom. And with a little ingenuity, you can do just about any sort of instruction. So I'll share my screen. I have a video that I will show later that shows you how to manipulate Zoom through the Zoom menus during a meeting when you are the host, because you can't see that on your end right now, and I can't really share that with you live in a Zoom meeting, because when I share my screen, Zoom doesn't share the menus and the menu options that come up for me. So I had to record that using another tool, Snagit, and then play that back for you. So like the old coach, I will show a movie in class today, and I'm going to do that as close as I can to 10 o'clock, because I have a critical staff meeting this morning at Online Learning Pathways that I need to attend. So I'm going to turn that movie on for you at 10 o'clock, wherever we are in the presentation, and let you watch that while I go attend the meeting and be on Zoom twice, in effect, at the same time. And then I'll be back when the movie finishes, and we'll continue. I apologize. I normally have to do that in this session because there are certain things about Zoom that I can't show you while we're on Zoom. So I'll do that right at 10 o'clock. So for those of you who may have, I see a number of you who have attended some of these meetings before, and if you've seen that movie enough, you can just go get a cup of coffee or something. The movie is about 22 minutes long if you need to gauge when to come back. All right, we're doing good. Okay, so I'll share my screen. Zoom. And share. We don't need that right now. That's for later in the meeting. Here's the outline we're going to go through today. We've dealt with Roman numeral 1 already. We're going to talk about why would you use Zoom? And then we're going to talk about the nitty-gritty of how to use Zoom with your students. How to get a Zoom account, how to start a meeting, get your students in there with you, how to use the Zoom menus, that's the movie I was talking about, how to record your Zoom sessions, that's another movie, and then some other nice things about Zoom later on. So let's get started with that. And let's talk first about why would you use Zoom? And I'll kill the screen share there for a second so we can see one another. I'm probably preaching to the choir on this one. You all wouldn't be in this meeting if you didn't want to use Zoom, but Zoom is the best synchronous, that is real-time meeting and communication tool that you can use over the internet that I know of. Even if you're teaching a fully online course where the vast majority of your interaction with your students is asynchronous through Canvas, where you post materials for your students on Canvas and they read and view and perform their assessments, take quizzes, turn in homework assignments on their own time. Even if the vast majority of the course is asynchronous, as is typical of online courses these days, Zoom provides a golden opportunity to actually engage with your students in real time, to develop a rapport with them that is so often missing in a fully online course, and to convince them that you are in fact a person and not a robot, which makes them feel so much better about taking an online course. So even in a fully online course, Zoom can be a marvelous tool. You can just engage with your students. You can just have live discussions. You can offer office hours through Zoom, even in a face-to-face course. That's a convenient way to offer office hours. Help sessions, test review sessions, things like that can be done on Zoom very effectively. But Zoom also will allow you, where it's appropriate, according, by your judgment, to deliver full-up lectures to your students. And that's where it's coming in so valuable to us in this time when we're having to move to remote or distance education with like 2 weeks notice. In many cases where folks have never even dreamed of doing that. It's our lifeline right now, because you can just continue with your course, lecturing to your students just as you have before. I know a lot of faculty who are just telling the students, okay, we were scheduled to be in class on Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 4, so Tuesday and Thursday at 2 to 4, I expect you to be on Zoom. And we'll just continue as we have before, without having to totally change the instructional paradigm that we've been using all this time, and that the faculty member has been using their entire career. Zoom allows you to just continue with that. You can't really do assessment through Zoom. You can't give quizzes. You can't accept homework. But we have Canvas for that. And while you're filling the gap by continuing to provide just as rich an educational lecture experience to your students as you can face-to-face through Zoom, it buys you a little time to get things like quizzes and tests, homework assignments, and information delivery set up on Canvas. So Zoom and Canvas work so well together, synergistically. Indeed, to me, the ideal distance education modality is using Zoom for live lectures and backing it up with Canvas for assessment and asynchronous interaction, things like that. And of course, you have both of those tools available to you for free. So we can really do, in absent laboratory type interactions, we can really do just about as good a job with Zoom and Canvas as we can in the live classroom, and give our students a quality education, and not have to totally upend the way that we teach, and that we've been taught and have learned to teach over many, many years. And besides, using, all of us got into this because we enjoyed working with students in a classroom. And going into a fully online course without something like Zoom, you lose a lot of that enjoyment, and Zoom can give it back to you. I've been supporting distance education for 25 years, and I still enjoy this more than I do putting information on an LMS and providing it to students. That's valuable and critical, but this is fun and just as valuable and critical. So in order to be able to do that, you've got to be able to use Zoom. So let's talk about what you need in order to do that. First thing you need, of course, is a Zoom account. You can get one, a pro account that has all the bells and whistles for free, because the state chancellor's office, through a grant, has bought access for every faculty and staff member at all the California community colleges to a Zoom Pro account. Let me interject before I go on and show you how to get that. Let me interject that your students, on the other hand, do not need Zoom accounts in order to attend your classes on Zoom. Attendees don't need Zoom accounts. Only the host needs a Zoom account in a Zoom meeting. But you will be the host as the teacher in your class, so you will need that account. And you can very easily get one. I'm going to share my screen now. Let me find that window. There we go. It's kind of nice to have multiple screens on your computer when you're holding a Zoom meeting. It's by no means essential, but it does give you some extra capability. You can go to conferzoom.org, conferzoom.org. And as long as you have an EDU email account from a California community college, you can just go to sign up and fill out a form. Give them your district email, your EDU email address. If you teach at multiple campuses, it doesn't really matter which one you give them. Just give them a valid California community college email address and sign up, and they will get back to you. As you can imagine, they're just hammered right now, but you will hear back from ConferZoom, or I think they call themselves CCC Tech Connect now. Yeah, they've changed the name of the organization, but it's still the same deal. They'll get back to you as quickly as they can. That can vary anything from a few minutes to over 72 hours, but they will get back to you. They're doing their very best right now, like everyone else, with limited staff. But you will get a free Zoom Pro account. It may take them a little while. Sometimes you'll get the account before they actually flip it to a Pro account. But the main problem there with the free Zoom account is that you are limited to meetings of 40 minutes. But as I mentioned earlier, you can always just start another meeting and bring your students back in and keep going after the 40-minute limit has been reached. So you can function with the free account for a time until ConferZoom gets you converted over into a Pro account. So that's all you have to do to have your own Zoom account. That's a marvelous resource they've provided for us. Serious props to the State Chancellor's office and to the folks over at Palomar who manage this and who are just going nuts trying to keep up right now. They're heroes in this situation we all find ourselves in. So that's all there is to getting a Zoom account. You can go to zoom.us. The main Zoom website. The accounts you get through ConferZoom are just regular Zoom Pro accounts. They're just paid for by the State Chancellor's office, and they're managed by the folks at ConferZoom or CCC Tech Connect, whichever you want to call them. But you can always manage your Zoom account, your ConferZoom account, through the Zoom website at zoom.us. And you can also, if you really need a Zoom account right now, and you want to, rather than waiting for your ConferZoom account, you can go. Let me sign out here so that you can see what I'm talking about. I'm already logged in as me here. You can just sign up for a free Zoom account right now and use it within 5 or 10 minutes if you really need it, or if you just want to practice. When you sign up, do use your district email. You'll be asked for an email address that will be your login ID for your Zoom account. Use your district email address. So when Confer Zoom creates your Zoom, your pro account, your free account will just automatically be converted to a pro account. You can just keep using it. So you can get a Zoom account right now if you don't already have one. But if you can wait for the Confer Zoom account to be delivered to you, it's probably a little easier in the long run. But I wouldn't hesitate, if you want to practice, to make a free one at this point. So let me sign in to my account here so I can continue talking about this. There we go. That's all there is to it. Once you have your Zoom account, the next thing you have to know is how to start a Zoom meeting. That there are quite a few different ways to do that, fortunately or unfortunately. And depending on exactly how you start your Zoom account, there can be issues with getting your students into it. The only way I've ever seen Zoom actually fail and prevent people from being able to communicate with one another is when the host ends up in one Zoom meeting or one Zoom meeting room, and their attendees, their students, end up in another room. And of course, they can't talk to one another. Then it's like wandering into the wrong classroom. There are some ways that this can happen. And I know a number of people have had that happen to them this week because they've contacted me asking, what happened? How do I keep that from happening? And I'm going to show you a way to start a Zoom meeting here that is guaranteed to avoid that problem. So this is one way to do it. One way to start a Zoom meeting and be sure of avoiding that problem is to log into your account at zoom.us. Or sometimes you'll see this be ccconfer.zoom.us. Same website, just different access URL for the accounts that are provided by Confer Zoom. But all Zoom accounts can be accessed at zoom.us regardless of their provenance. So you saw me log back in there. You just go to zoom.us and log in using the credentials that you received either from Zoom itself or more likely from Confer Zoom. And you'll come to the meeting or your Zoom management screens for your account at the Zoom website. By default, you should be dropped into the Meetings tab. And there are other things you can do here as well that we'll talk about later. But for now, let's talk about starting a meeting. One way to start a meeting is schedule a new meeting. Just schedule it. You can schedule it for right now and just start. But that results, unless you make some preparation, that results in a randomly generated meeting ID, which the students need in order to get into your meeting. And that there's a possibility that students will not get that ID and they either won't be able to log into your meeting or enter your meeting, or they'll end up in the wrong meeting room or whatever. You have something called, with your Zoom, both free accounts and pro accounts, you have something called a personal meeting room. This is yours. No one else uses this room. This room has access. The access information for this room never changes as long as you use the same Zoom account. It never changes. So you can provide that access information to your students, and they can use it for all of your Zoom meetings. So this almost eliminates the possibility that your students will end up in one room and you will end up in another. To see what I'm talking about, let's click here where it says Personal Meeting Room under Meetings in your Zoom management screens in the Zoom on the Zoom website. When you click on that, you get information about your personal meeting room. And principal among that is the meeting ID, which does not change. If you supply that to your students, they can get into your meeting. You also have a join URL. I have customized mine. I wish I hadn't done that. So that's what mine looks like. Yours will probably, if you haven't customized it, will look like this, which I can get to through my profile. That has the meeting ID embedded in the URL. And by the way, if you're attending on a smartphone and fine print like that is hard to see, you can pinch zoom on your smartphone and make this shared screen bigger so that you can see that. And if you have to, you can move the window that you're looking through around on the screen by just putting your finger, moving it around with your finger. So that's a trick your students can use too. And many of them probably will be attending via smartphone. So that's we always have to keep that in mind. If you're on a computer, I don't know if you can zoom that zoom. No, if you're on a computer, you should be able to see this probably. So this is your personal Zoom meeting room link. If you supply that to your students, they can always get into your personal meeting room. And if you always start your meeting in your personal meeting room, then you and your students will always end up in the same Zoom room together. And you'll avoid, like I say, the one real point of failure I've ever seen for Zoom. When you are in your personal meeting room information screen here at the Zoom website, there will be a button over in the upper right. And let me move this share. Here's a trick for you in using Zoom. When you're sharing your screen, if you can, you probably want to avoid this very upper right corner of the screen. Avoid referring to anything that's in the upper right hand corner of that screen, because students who are attending on a smartphone will probably have a video window showing themselves up here, showing what their phone camera is seeing. And that video window may be covering up what you want to talk about if it's up in this area when you're sharing your screen. So I usually move my shared window over a little bit so that I'm not trying to use this area of my screen. But in any case, when you look at this upper right-hand corner here of your personal meeting room screen at the Zoom website, you'll see a blue button here. Right now, this blue button says Join Now because Zoom knows I'm in a meeting currently. But when you're not in a meeting, what you will see here will say Start Meeting. So you can start your Zoom meeting just by clicking Join Now. And the meeting will immediately begin. The process that you go through to enter your Zoom meeting as the host is exactly the same as you went through to get into my meeting here. The Zoom client will load, and you'll be dropped into your own meeting. Usual, same process. So this allows you to start a Zoom meeting at the time you've told your students you're going to have a meeting by sending them an announcement in Canvas or an email or posting a meeting schedule in Canvas or whatever. When it comes time to start your meeting, you can just click Start Meeting here, and then you can go in and your students can join you and you can proceed to hold class. That's as opposed to scheduling a meeting in advance, which you can do as well. But as I said, unless you're careful, when you schedule a new meeting, you won't be using your personal meeting room. And if you've provided the link to your personal meeting room to your students, they'll end up in the wrong room. So I don't use the scheduling tool in Zoom to avoid that possibility. I just start my meetings manually from the personal meeting room. And I provide the information to my attendees on how to get into this room by another channel, like email. That's probably how you got into my meeting today. Mary Kingsley sent out an email with my personal Zoom meeting room link in it, and you just clicked on that link and came right in. And that was easy for you, and it'd be easy for your students if you do it the same way, rather than requiring them to go and look at a schedule somewhere and click into a meeting. So that's why I preach starting your meetings this way. There is a way to ensure that no matter how you start a Zoom meeting, whether you start it through the Zoom integration in Canvas, or you start it through the host a meeting tool here on the Zoom website, or however, you can ensure that you're always in your Zoom personal meeting room. You can do that by going to Settings, the Settings tab here in your Zoom screens, and scrolling down a little ways. It's fortunate there's a lot of settings for Zoom, but fortunately the ones I'm talking about are right near the top. These two settings right here will fix it so you always use your personal meeting room. If you turn on use personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting, or use personal ID when starting an instant meeting, like going up here to host a meeting, if you turn those two on, you'll always use your personal meeting room, no matter how you start the meeting. So that's a safety net in case you forget and start a meeting some other way. If you set these to on, and blue is on, you just click there and turn them on and off. You'll never have to worry about your students being in one meeting and you being in another. So that's my advice. It's worth everything you paid for it. All right, so that's starting a Zoom meeting. Really simple. Takes a lot less time to do than it does to talk about it. The next question that I've kind of alluded to is how do you get your students in there with you? How can your students find your meeting and get into it? Well, if you're using your personal meeting room, as I'm recommending, all you have to do is provide your students with your, well, let's go to the profile because I like to use this one, show this one better. You can go to your profile and get your personal meeting access URL and or your personal meeting ID, and you can provide those to your students by any one of a number of channels, communication channels. You can just email the link to them. Say, okay, we're having a meeting today at 2 o'clock. Here's the link. Click, come in, we'll be there. Simple. But the wise instructor does not rely upon a single communication channel in communicating with students. I'm not telling you anything new there. You're all quite aware of how challenging it can be to communicate with students who have their own lives, of course, and who are right now you're not seeing them twice or 3 times a week. So it's a good idea to communicate with students in other ways as well. And Canvas gives you great tools to do that. Yep, I just got an alert that I have a staff meeting in 15 minutes, so I need to get through this in 15 minutes. That shouldn't be a problem. And remember, if you have a question, you can ask it, particularly if it's something germane to what we're doing right now. If it's something that I may get to later, I may ask you to defer that and put it in the chat tool, but I will be as responsive as I can here, because that's the fun part of the meeting for me. But in Canvas, you can notify your students of your upcoming Zoom meetings in a number of ways. You can just, let's go into a course here, a sandbox course. In your personal, or in your module, in your modules, Canvas modules, like maybe in a getting started module at the top of your course, you can add, and this is not a session on Canvas, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but I will be offering a Canvas session this afternoon. You're welcome to come in, and we'll, of course, be teaching Canvas as we go along. But I can add a Canvas page, a new page to my Canvas course. I can give it a name like Zoom meeting schedule. I can add that item. I can edit that page to put information into it. And I can say, here's our Zoom meeting schedule. I'm sorry to make you watch me hunt and peck here. My mother told me to take typing. I took band instead. Here's our Zoom meeting schedule. Here's the link to attend all meetings. I can then make a hyperlink here by highlighting that text, going to the link to URL or hyperlink button, click on that, go get my Zoom personal meeting link from Zoom. There it is right there. I already have it highlighted. I can just copy that to the clipboard, go back to Canvas, paste that into this link. There it is. Insert the link. Now, all students have to do to join my meetings is to click on that link right there. No hunting around for it, no looking for an old email or a Canvas announcement. You can always use Canvas announcements to announce your meetings as well. And then like Tuesday, 2 p.m. and so on. You can make it look prettier than that, but you get the idea. You can just have your Zoom meeting schedule here with the link right at the top. All the student ever has to do is just go into Canvas, pull up the schedule, click on the link, and bam, they're in the meeting. And they'll be in the right room with you every time. I hate to use the term foolproof because fools like me are so resourceful. We can often avoid supposedly foolproof setups, but that makes it very unlikely that your students will not be able to access your meetings. You can also, in Canvas, actually put a link to your Zoom, and let me save that for future reference. You can put into your course menu in Canvas a link to your Zoom personal meeting room. I've done that here already, but I can show you how I did it by going to the settings link in your course menu in Canvas and going to the apps tab and clicking installed, so you don't have to look through every app that will work with Canvas that we don't have on our system. You click installed, it'll show you just the ones we have. And the app we're looking for is the redirect tool, that swooshy blue arrow there. I click on that. This allows me to add a link to my Zoom course menu, or my Canvas course menu, excuse me. It's the only way that I know you can add something to your Canvas course menu. And this allows you to add access to external resources to your Canvas course menu, things outside of Canvas. So I just click Add App. I rename this from Redirect Tool to something like Zoom Personal Meeting, Zoom Course Meeting Room, or something, you know, whatever makes sense. Then I paste in that from my clipboard, my personal meeting room link. I tell it to open in a new tab. That's pretty important, so that it doesn't interfere with, the Canvas doesn't interfere with it. I want to show it in course navigation and probably account navigation as well. And click Add App. So it takes 30 seconds to do this if you're not talking about it. And then refresh the screen and I'll see that new link. There it is right there in my Canvas course meeting room. And the students can just come over here if they know a meeting scheduled at a certain time and click on that link and open it in a new tab, and bang, they're going into a Zoom meeting, and they'll end up in my personal meeting room. Guaranteed. So simple, straightforward, works every time. Getting fancy can and going outside those parameters, if you're not real familiar with Zoom, can end up with you in one Zoom meeting room and the students in another, and that, of course, doesn't work real well. Ask me how I know that. I've certainly done that with Zoom myself, just trying to give you a way to avoid that. All right, let's look at our outline here and see how we're doing. Well, check getting your Zoom account, starting a Zoom meeting, check providing your students access to your Zoom meetings, check. Now we're at the point where I want to show you how to manage a Zoom meeting when you're the host. And to do that, I have to show you the Zoom host meeting menu tools. And I can't do that live on Zoom because Zoom doesn't share my Zoom menu with you, and it doesn't share what I see when I manage the meeting. It keeps that secret for obvious reasons, but that's can be a difficulty when you're trying to show someone how to use Zoom using Zoom. So I had to record myself using those meeting tools, using a different tool, a screencasting tool called Snagit, which is also a tremendously useful instructional tool. And then I'll have to play that back for you. Like my old coach, I'm going to show a movie in class. And that works out quite nicely this morning because I do have a critical staff meeting that I need to spend a few minutes in this morning. I will be back by the time the movie finishes. Actually, I have two movies, one on using the menu tools and another one on recording your Zoom sessions. And I'll show you those in sequence. The first one is about, the one on the menu tools is about 20 minutes, and the one on the and recording's about 10. So I'll be back before the first one ends and we can talk a minute, and then I'll start the next one, and so on. I hate to be away. Usually I like to just be here in case you have questions during the movie. But today I'm going to have to duck out for a minute. So I'll be playing that here in just a minute. See, is there anything else I need to do? Does anybody have any questions before I do that? We're kind of at a seam in the presentation here. I can take a question or two before I start the movie.
And
And
Jim, hello, can you hear me?
yes, I hear you fine.
Yeah, Dave, I was trying to take notes on how to connect the Zoom account with the course, and I missed something. What if you can repeat it in another time? If you have time right now, we can repeat it now.
Well, that's what I just showed you. How to connect your Zoom meeting room with your Canvas course.
Yes, and I missed some part of it. I don't know why.
Let me go back to Canvas here real quick.
Okay.
Excuse me. I lost Canvas here for a second. Let me find that. Well, let me just go back. I'll bring it up. Log in Canvas. Yep. I must have closed that by accident. That'll happen. Now let me go into that same course. Okay, you can either create in a module in Canvas, you can create a Zoom meeting schedule, maybe in your first module, and you can just put schedule meetings in there, and you can put your Zoom personal meeting room link in a hyperlink in the meeting so that the students can just click on that link and go straight into Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Or you can just email this link to them. Remember, you can get that meeting room link from your. Oops, that's not my room. That's my dog's Zoom account. Here's mine. You can go to your profile in Zoom and get your personal meeting access, your personal meeting room access URL right here, and just copy it to your clipboard. And then you can put that in an email and send it to your students, or you can put a link to it in Canvas, or you can make a Canvas announcement and send that to your students on the day with information about when to be online. And quite frankly, I'd do all of these things. I'd email the student, I'd post an announcement, I'd put a link in Canvas in a Canvas schedule to my meeting room, give them every opportunity to be able to find this link so that they can get into your meeting. There's that link right there. And you can actually embed the Zoom, your personal Zoom meeting link into the Canvas course menu using what's called the redirect tool in Canvas. Just go to your settings. Never hurts to repeat this because it's critical to getting your students into the room. Go to your settings menu, go to the apps tab, look at the installed apps in Canvas rather than having to sort through every external tool that might ever be used with Canvas. Go to the redirect tool, which is the blue arrow. Add the app, rename that something like My Zoom Room or something. Paste in your personal meeting link and tell Zoom to open it in a new tab, show it in course navigation, show it in account navigation, and then add the app. And I've already done that, so I don't want to do it again. And it appears in your Canvas course menu, and your students can just click right there and get right into your Zoom personal meeting room without having to swan around looking for something online, trying to find an email you sent them last week or something like that, they can just go right in to your Zoom meeting room at any time and join you if you're there. So that's the quick recap on that. So now I'm going to play the movie for you and show you how to manage a Zoom meeting as the host using the Zoom host menus, of which you only have a subset available to you right now as an attendee. And this will illustrate another thing that you can do with your students. You can, during a lecture, a live lecture in Zoom, you can play a movie for your students off of YouTube or anywhere else. You can play a movie off a DVD that's playing from the DVD drive in your computer. There is one trick to that when you share your screen. And this again is something I can't show you live, but it will be in the movie that you're about to watch. When you share your Zoom screen and you're planning on playing a movie or an audio file or something like that, when you first click share at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and it's a highlighted icon in bilious green, you can't miss it. A dialog box pops up that asks you, what do you want to share? And normally you'll share your entire desktop, which is the default. So you don't have to really make a choice, but there is an option in the lower left-hand corner of the Zoom share, Zoom preparatory share screen that allows you to share your computer sound. If you don't do that, your students will be able to see the movie, but they won't be able to hear it. So it's critical that you share that. I got another question about that today in my email. This comes up all the time. So you do have to warn Zoom that you are going to be sharing, that you need to be sharing your computer sound. It doesn't do that by default because it takes more bandwidth. So I'm going to reshare my screen with that option activated. And now you can see, once again, my screen. And I can just bring up my YouTube channel here. Let me find that. Got that open here somewhere, sorry. There it is. Get that out of the way and behind. Let me find this. Here we go, here are my channel videos. A little more about YouTube later in the movie on recording. YouTube is a great option for sharing your Zoom recordings with your students and other videos that you might create. And I have, here's my movie on using the Zoom control menu. I'll just bring that up in YouTube. And hi there, and welcome. Oh, not yet. I'll full screen it so you can see it as well as possible. And I will click play, and I will see you. And this thing is let's see, 22 minutes and change, just about exactly 22 minutes. I'll let it play through, and I'll be back at the end of it. All righty, see you shortly. Hi there, and welcome to a quick trip through the Zoom tools and menus that you'll see when you're in a Zoom meeting as the host. Some of these menus and tools are also available to participants, but we're specifically going to look at the host view here today. We have to pre-record this because you can't do this while you're in Zoom. I can't share this with you while you're in Zoom. And we'll start with the general view. You'll probably come up by default in speaker view, which shows whoever is talking in full screen. Actually, I've messed with this a little bit because I have pinned myself so you can see me in this. If I unpin the video, what you will see is actually your attendee who last spoke or who is currently speaking. But I'm going to go ahead and pin myself back there. That's something you can do for recording purposes. The other option for viewing the meeting is gallery view. The button will be in the upper right-hand corner here, and it's a toggle back and forth. If I click that, I go to gallery view, which is something like the old Hollywood Squares view, where you see everyone who has a webcam running. I have 3 devices in the meeting right now. This is my hosting computer. This is my smartphone, and this is a laptop in another room. So you get a much better feel for who else is in the system, and you can watch them and take visual cues from them and so on. But either one will work. The Zoom menu will normally be at the bottom of the screen. It might show up on one side or the other if settings have been changed, but 99% of the time it'll be at the bottom. If you don't see a menu at the bottom of the screen, mouse over the video window and it should pop up. We'll start from left to right here. The first icon in the lower left is the microphone or the sound icon. This, the thing you'll do most often here is mute yourself. You can do that by just clicking on it. And then clicking again. When you're muted, there'll be a red slash through it. You can mute or not as you wish in a meeting. It's probably a good idea to stay muted at least most of the time if you're not presenting in the meeting. Though if there's not a lot of sound in your vicinity, it's not really that critical. Next to the the sound icon will also show you that you're transmitting. The microphone icon.
Did you check the view?
If you see the little green there's also a menu associated with this icon right next to it. There's a little up caret. If we click that, we can select, if we have more than one microphone, we can select the microphone we want to use. And if you have more than one output device, more than one set of speakers attached to your computer, you can select the ones you wish. You can also test your speakers and microphone, which is a very good thing to do before the meeting starts. Yes, I hear a ringtone. Yes, I hear a ringtone. Yep, yeah, I did hear that reply, and you're finished. So it'll tell you if your sound devices are working. You can switch to phone audio. There are 2 options for audio in Zoom. One is computer audio, voice over IP through Zoom itself. The other is to use your phone, either your smartphone or a desk phone, to both speak and hear the audio. The vast majority of the time you'll want to use the computer audio, unless you don't have speakers attached to your computer. You can also change audio settings at any time. The next icon, a little stylized camera, is your video control icon. This allows you to control whether other people can see you if you have a webcam. You can turn off your video by clicking on the webcam, and you'll go to the little red slash will appear, and you'll no longer appear to your attendees. And just clicking it again will bring you back. Speaking as someone who does a lot of Zoom meetings, it's always nice when you leave your video on, because as a presenter, I can see what you're thinking sometimes, and see if I'm losing you, things like that. It's much better if you leave it on in general terms. There's also a video settings menu next to the little camera. You can, if you have more than one camera attached to your computer, you can select which one you want to use. Indeed, I've used up to 4 cameras attached to a single computer in a Zoom meeting before, where each one was looking at something different. And you have that option. You can only use one camera at a time, but you can quickly switch between them using this menu here. You also have a video settings menu, which you can use in a variety of ways. I'm not going to go into great detail there, but you can set your screen aspect ratio. You can set your whether to use high definition if your webcam is capable of it. You can mirror so that things are not turned left to right and so on. Most of the rest of these you just leave on as is. You can also, in the video menu, go to the virtual background, which I have behind me right now. What I have behind me is actually a wall, a green wall, actually. But I can put any of these virtual backgrounds behind myself. And you can upload your own pictures, which is what I have. Here is a picture out my back window. You can do this. It works a little better with a green screen, but you don't have to have a green screen. If you have a reasonably consistent background behind you with not a lot of, not real cluttered, it may work anyway. It's always worth a try if you want to try that. So that's how you set a virtual background, or you can go directly to that in that setting in this menu here as well by just hitting choose a virtual background, pick the photo that you want to use, and see what happens. Here's your invite button. This allows you, if you have a running meeting, to invite people to it. You can go directly to your Yahoo Mail if you have that up. And it will give you a message that you can send to whomever you wish that has all the information necessary to access the meeting. So that's a useful thing sometimes. Let's see. That's probably these. Another thing you can do is copy your Zoom URL to your clipboard and just paste that into an email and send it right away. But you've usually taken care of this before you start the meeting. You, as the host, can manage your participants in certain ways. First off, you can see who's in here with you very quickly, how many people there are, and get some information about who they are, depending on how they've logged in. You can mute or unmute them at will. He said. What that does is send a message to them asking them to unmute themselves, actually. You can also chat with them directly. You can stop their video. You can make them a host so that they can do things that normally only you can do. Or you can make them the host and cut yourself off, or make them a co-host and they can do some of the things you can do that normally they wouldn't be able to. You can allow them to record, which people will occasionally record by themselves. So they get their own recording of this. If they happen to be a real-time captioner in your meeting, in order to provide that service, you can assign that to them. You can rename them, or you can kick them out of the meeting in an extreme circumstance. We won't be doing that today. Also, here are buttons where you can do things like, you can mute everyone at one time if you need to. You can unmute everyone. And you can set certain default behaviors. This is where you can also answer questions or surveys, yes, no. They can ask to go slower, go faster. They can like, dislike, and so on. They're just But mainly what you're doing here as the host is looking to see who's in the meeting with you and muting and unmuting them at need more often than not. Alrighty, I'm not going to do polls right now. That's something we'll take up later in another video. We can share our screens. This is one of the most important capabilities of Zoom, so you definitely need to know how to do that. This button right here is very prominently featured to share your computer screen so that people can see what you're doing on your computer in a lecture situation. You just click that button and it asks you, well, what do you want to share? Almost always you will want to share your desktop, your entire screen. That's much simpler. Just do that and you'll be fine. You also have the option to share a whiteboard, but that's not going to come very often, and there are better options for that I'll show you later in the presentation. But you probably want to share your dashboard. Here I have 3 dashboards because I have 3 screens on this machine. You will not probably have that, though you may well have 2. But I would share your entire screen. There are a couple of options down here at the bottom that you may want to consider if you're going to be sharing video with your attendees, like playing a YouTube video that you'd like them to see and hear. In that event, you should check both of these options. The default is to have those off. And then just click Share. Now, whoever is attending this meeting is seeing this, whatever's on my desktop. Let's see, what else do I have here? I can move, this is my control bar that I have when I'm sharing, and I can move that to the top and bottom of the screen to get it out of the way if I need to. So let's say here I might well be sharing my Canvas dashboard. Everybody in the meeting is now seeing my Canvas dashboard. And whatever I do here in real time shows up on their screens. And the sharing performance in Zoom is amazing. Even at relatively low bandwidth, your people who are in the meeting with you will be able to see your screen and what you're doing on it pretty much in real time. And you can play videos, like play a YouTube video. They will be able to see it and hear it. There may be some minor issues with lip sync if someone is talking in a close-up, but other than that, it's going to be nearly perfect. In this little control bar here, you can do a number of things. You can stop your video because there will be somewhere a little thumbnail with your video in it. You still have access to manage participants, just as you did when you were showing your webcam. Polls. You can do a new share and replace this one. You can pause the share. If you want to do something for a moment that you don't want your attendees to see, you can pause the share. You can annotate. Let's see. Draw circles around things. Draw arrows. You can erase stuff. You can spotlight things. Use this little pointer that people have a hard time missing. You can which is the default. Get the spotlight off here. And you can type text on the screen for them to see if you want to label something. So there's quite a lot you can do with annotation here. We'll go ahead and clear that. Remote control. You can give someone control of your screen while you are sharing your screen. They can request it from their menus, which they have while you are sharing, and then you can give it to them and they can show you something on your machine. And here are most of the other options that are not available in this menu bar, including your recording options and so on that you can change, that we'll look at in a moment. And if things get out of hand on annotations, you can disable participant annotations every time you need, anytime you need to. You can hide those floating meeting controls, or you can even end the meeting from here, which we definitely won't do right now. And when you're done with your share, just go ahead and click this red button right here. That'll always be right below your share control panel. And you'll be back with your participants seeing your webcam rather than your screen share. That's probably the important thing that you know how to do in Zoom. This is a sharing control menu. If you have this checked, other people other than you can share, but only one at a time. And then we're not going to look at advanced sharing options right now. Probably the second most useful tool in Zoom is the chat tool. If I click on that, I get a little chat window. Whatever I type in this message box at the bottom will be displayed once I press enter on the keyboard. You can display it to everyone or to other individuals in the meeting. If I just press enter, yes, whatever I type appears here. You can put links in here, all sorts of useful stuff. When you're done with the meeting, near time when you're done, you can save the chat using this little chat menu here if you like. And you can control who people can chat with and how, and so on. So the chat tool is very simple, very basic, works very reliably, and it's a wonderful thing to keep running as you're doing your presentation so that people can ask questions or participate or share comments without having to interrupt you. And you can move this window around on the screen. If you have multiple monitors, you can drag it right off to another screen and keep it open so that you can keep an eye on it the whole time. If you do not have the chat window open and somebody sends you a chat message, a little window will pop up at the bottom of the screen here with the first bit of the chat message in it, alerting you to the fact that there is something in the chat you might want to look at. Recording. You can record your Zoom sessions. And really very... Okay, folks, this is Dave. I'm back live. I ducked out of my staff meeting for a moment to change the movie, change the reel on the projector. Does anybody have any questions right this minute that I can answer before I restart? I'm gonna use another movie that I have on recording rather than showing it, rather than letting this one play out. So I can read.
Could I ask you a question, Dave?
Please.
Okay. On the Flex thing, it's got, you know, days and times for various sessions, but on one of yours, instead of 2 o'clock on Saturday, it's got a U. I just have no idea what U means.
You mean for scheduled time?
For scheduled time, yeah. It says U, not Thursday.
Beat the living daylights out of me. I'm sorry.
That's why I ask you first privately, because I'm so stupid. I don't know what you mean.
I wish I had an answer. Well, I do have an answer for you.
For your
The Saturday
on Canvas Q&A, and it says 2 hours. You.
Okay. There are 2 weekend meetings. They are scheduled, I believe, for 9:30. Let me verify that. Don't let me shoot from the hip here. Let me pull up my email. Somebody made a comment about email there. I am catching up on my email. I get a lot. I'm getting a lot of it right now. I'm about up to 10 o'clock yesterday morning right now on ones I've received and replying to them. But let me go in. I've got in my email, I've got that schedule. I'm looking at it. The Saturday is 9:30 a.m. to noon, and Sunday 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Those are general question sessions. It says Canvas Q&A in the schedule, but I'll take questions on anything. That's just designed as an open help session for anybody to come in and ask the questions and get help that they need.
All right, that would be me, Dave, and thank you very much, and you're an excellent teacher. Okay, I'm off.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment coming from you all, because I know we're all teachers. And it's something I've done for 45 years. But I thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else before I start the next movie?
This is Laura. I have a question.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, when we are actually holding a Zoom meeting with our students, are we required to close caption that? We're in
Good question. You can, if you know you have a hearing impaired student in your class, you can request a live captioner from CCC Confer.
Okay.
And they have a form that you fill out. Well, they have directions on how to do that on their website, which if you'll remind me of that when I get back after the movie, I will show you that link.
Okay.
And they,
but just in general, we don't have to do it in this kind of a setting.
as you can tell, I'm not doing that today. I would like to be able to, but I know CCC Confer has limited resources.
Okay.
And unless it's really necessary, no. And we have coverage on that from the Federal Department of Education, saying that in this critical time, nothing in the disability regulations is to be interpreted as interfering with you making your online education available to your students. So we have coverage on that right now. Good question. Okay, I need to get back here, and I want to make sure we have some time after this movie finishes. So let me show you how to record in Zoom, which is a critical thing. You really need to be able to do that. So let me pull up my recording movie. That's another thing that's a little difficult to show you live. So I have the movie for that. This one is not as long, thank God. Here we go. Recording a Zoom meeting to your local computer. And did you all hear and see that movie okay? Recording a Zoom.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes,
good.
we did.
Thank you. All right, here we go. This one is, he said, it's loading. This one is about 13 minutes. And hopefully it comes up here in a second. Recording a Zoom meeting to your local hard drive. There we go. I'll see you in about 10 minutes. It to YouTube to share with your students. When recording in Zoom, all you have to do is click this little record button down here in the Zoom menu at the bottom of the screen. You should be asked whether you want to record on your computer or to the cloud. You can actually do either one, but I prefer recording to my local computer because I retain control of the recording in that case. So this video is going to focus on this option, recording to the local computer. If you should not see this option when you click the record button, if indeed you don't see this little up caret beside the record button, you won't get this option. You can fix that easily in your Zoom settings by going to zoom.us, signing into your Zoom account, and going to Settings in the Zoom menu, and the recording tab. Be sure that local recording is set to on. It probably will not be. You'll probably see this. So you just click that to turn it on, say, yes, I want to turn that on, and then you're ready to go. Then you just start your Zoom meeting in the usual way. And in this case, you don't even have to have anyone else in there with you. You can simply start a Zoom meeting with just you in it and record that and keep the recording and share it with your students through YouTube or other means. Very simply. This will work, of course, quite well also if you actually have people in the meeting with you. It's really immaterial as far as the recording is concerned. Though if you do have other people in the meeting with you, whatever they say or share will be recorded as well and will be visible to anyone playing back the recording later. So to start your recording, all you have to do is click the record button and select record on this computer.
This meeting is being recorded.
Now everyone's notified of that audibly as well as visually up here in the upper left-hand corner, so everybody knows to be on their best behavior, hopefully. Okay, so whatever appears in your Zoom meeting will now be recorded, both video and audio. And by video, I mean the video of your webcam, but also any screen shares that you do. If I go to the share button and decide to share my entire desktop and screen, if I'm going to be playing video, I probably want to share my computer sound and optimize for a full video screen clip, and then click share. Now, whatever is on my desktop is being shared, and we can share anything we wish with our students, like a YouTube video, whatever.
And on its face is a scar, with many telling a story.
And all of that's being recorded by Zoom. So Zoom does allow you to record not only your webcam, but also to do effectively what's called screencasting, which is to record your video screen if you share it, and record anything that you say, record anything that the computer plays, anything that comes through the computer speakers as well. You can switch back and forth by stopping your screen share. You can switch back and forth between recording your computer screen and recording you or whatever your webcam is seeing. Once you're done with this and your recording is complete, you can stop the recording, or you can pause it if you just want a minute off, or maybe to gather your thoughts, or to deal with something that you don't want recorded in a live meeting. But once you click stop,
The recording has stopped.
you're told that the recording file will be converted to MPEG-4, which is what you want, a standard streaming format, when the meeting ends. So in order to actually get this recording, we have to end the meeting down here in the lower right-hand corner of the Zoom menu. And yes, I really want to end the meeting. And since I'm recording this particular video by means other than Zoom, you're now still hearing me and seeing what's on my screen. And if we look here behind the windows that were already up, this recording is being rendered to MP or converted to MP4 and saved on your local hard drive. It's saved in your on the PC in your documents folder, in a folder called Zoom, and it is named, or the name is includes the date and time that it was made, so you can tell which recording is which. This is the last one, obviously, that I've done. I've got a few more. We'll open that folder, and the video file is this one right here, zoom_0.mp4, or if you haven't got Windows set to display file extensions, it'll just say zoom_0. That's both the audio and the video of your Zoom meeting. If you've stopped and started the recording more than once in your Zoom meeting, you'll have multiple Zoom video files here, MP4 files, and they'll be numbered Zoom 0, Zoom 1, Zoom 2, and so on in order. So you can easily make multiple recordings in the same Zoom session if you like, but usually it's just the one. So the next question becomes, how do you share that with your students? And that's exceptionally simple. If you have a YouTube account, and indeed, if you have let me get a new Chrome window here to share with you. If you have a Google account at all, you do have a YouTube account. You might not have a YouTube channel, but it's very easy to create that, and Google will prompt you, or YouTube will prompt you to create your channel the first time you try to upload a video. I'm just going to go to YouTube here, since I'm already logged into my Google account. I can just go to this little Google Apps button right here and click on YouTube, or I can just type youtube.com into the address line on the browser. YouTube knows who I am. If it doesn't, you might be prompted to log into your Google account here, but probably you're already in there. And to add a YouTube video to your channel on YouTube, all you have to do is click this little button right here that's labeled Create a Video or Post. And little stylized camera icon with a plus sign inside. We'll just click that, and I'm going to upload a video. I could also just go live, which is a little bit like Zoom, but not really a one-way type stream. But I'm going to upload a video that I've just made. I'm going to select the file that I want to upload, and I'm going to go to my Documents folder, just as I showed you a moment ago, and go to the Zoom folder, scroll down to my most recent recording, open that folder, and click on this zoom_0.mp4 file, and click Open. Since that was a pretty short one, first I'm going to be asked for some details here. Let's see, I don't know if I can get away. The title, is required, and I probably want something a little bit more descriptive than zoom_0. So let me just do Zoom example. I don't have to add a description necessarily. Let's see. You do have to say that the video is not made for kids, assuming it's not. That's a new legal requirement that YouTube's had to implement. So now it'll let me do next. And let's see, this changes all the time. Fine, we just got some information here. I'm going to now just do next again. And I'm going to say publish. I'm going to take the default here, which is to publish it right away. And oh, there it is. It's ready to go already. And I'll just click done. Oh, I do have to say visibility. I want it to be, my visibility options are public, anybody can view it, and it can be searched for. Private, which means only certain people can see it, and they have to have a YouTube account. And they have to be logged into their YouTube account in order to view it, or more likely unlisted. I want the video to be unlisted. That is, anybody who has the address, the web address, the URL for the video, can view it if I provide that to them. But they don't have to be logged into YouTube or anything like that to view it. So unlisted is my usual version, unless it's something that I don't mind sharing with the general public. Whenever you feel like you can, that's a good idea. And we'll click done. Now the video is published. And we can share it with people just by taking this video link right here. And we can click this icon that says copy that to our clipboard. You see that's been copied to the clipboard. Then I can just close it. You can always get that share link by just clicking on the video, going to the video on YouTube. Now everyone's notified of that audibly as well as, and just going to share, and here's your video URL. Just click copy, that goes to your clipboard, and you can now paste that into Canvas or anywhere else you need to. So that's all there is to recording a Zoom session with or without other attendees, and uploading that session to YouTube, the recording of that session to YouTube, and then sharing it with people via Canvas or other means. Nope, don't want the next video. By the way, you can stop YouTube from doing this, from popping up suggested videos with share on it. Oh my God, Sunny and share together. Okay, you can prevent this. That's something if anybody's interested in that, I'll show you how. That's something I cover in my Using YouTube with Canvas seminar, but I'll be happy to answer that question here if you're interested. So we've got about 20 minutes left. We got some other ground to cover here. I tried to answer a couple of questions in the chat tool while we were watching the movie, but I'll expand on those answers later at need, and I'll answer anything that I couldn't answer in the chat tool when we get to the question and answer period here at the end of the meeting. But there are a couple of things I want to cover with you next. There was a little bit of information in that video about sharing your videos that you put up on YouTube with your students, but I want to expand on that and show you how to do that effectively in Canvas. In your Canvas course, you can share your videos through your modules, as you share all other sorts of information in Canvas that you share with your students. You can go to any Canvas module that you've created, any collection of links that you've created in your modules tool, and add a YouTube video to it at any time, or indeed a video from any other source on the web, any online video. There are 2 or 3 different ways to do that. I'm going to show you a couple of them anyway here real quick. One is to just put a link to that video on YouTube or wherever in your module by creating what's called an external URL by Canvas, or a web link or a hyperlink in general terminology. All you need is the share URL that was mentioned in the last video, the share URL from YouTube or whatever site. And we can get that from YouTube, as I showed you, by just clicking the share button and copying the URL to your clipboard by clicking that copy button. Now I can go back to Canvas and I can just paste that URL in right here. That's the share URL from YouTube. I give this link a name so that students know what it is. Link to YouTube video. Obviously, you'd put more information in that to telling them what's in the video and why they would want to click on it. You always, for links to videos in a module in Canvas, you always want to load them in a new tab, because there are some video playback pages on the web that will not play well with Canvas if you try to put it into the Canvas content frame. Better to have a new tab open up in your browser for this to play in. That is especially true, by the way, with videos that you might have uploaded to the Zoom cloud and done cloud recording. Those, if you link them into Canvas, they have to open in a new tab or they won't play. Just one of the reasons I'm not as enamored with putting videos on the Zoom cloud as I might otherwise be. So I add that item and I get a link to the YouTube video. If I publish that, the students can see it when they go into the module, and they can just click on that link and open the link in a new window. That's a little Canvas fuss. Making your videos available. And they can immediately then play the video. So accessing the video is straightforward for them. That works, but it's not especially sexy looking. You can also put YouTube videos into your course, including your Zoom recordings, by going to your modules in Canvas. There we are. And just inserting a Canvas page into your module. So I might even, if you were putting your Zoom recordings into your Canvas course, which is something that would be very handy for your students, I might even make a separate module and call it Zoom lecture recordings or something like that, whatever makes sense to you. Add that module. It'll be down here on the bottom maybe, but you can move modules around in Canvas to your heart's content, of course. Display them in any order. Then I could make a page in that module for each video, or I could even put multiple videos on the same page. But let's just make a new page and put one video in there, and I'll call this Zoom recording, and put a date in there, something like that. The Zoom recording of lecture date, and add the item. Then I would edit that page, and I can embed the Zoom video into the Canvas page here rather than just putting a link to it, which the link works, but it doesn't really draw students in like I might like to. So I can use, in the Canvas Rich Content Editor, I can use the Insert Edit Media tool, and I can just paste that Zoom share URL right into this source box here. Let's see, I think I still have that on the clipboard, yep. And click OK. And doesn't that look sexier? The student can just click here and play the video right within the page. Making your videos available to your students. They can full screen it. Drop out of that with an escape. First off, we don't recommend that you upload your videos directly to Canvas. Canvas is not an idea. Matter of fact, this video shows you how to do what I'm showing you how to do now. So that video is available on our on-demand video site, which I need to show you in a second. But that's all there is to embedding a video on a Canvas page. I save that, and then that becomes a way for the students to access that video a little bit more salubriously, if you will. And you could put multiple, if there were a series of videos you wanted to share with them, you could put multiple videos on the same page, and they just click on the one they want. So that's how you can share Zoom recordings or other videos that you put on YouTube with your students through Canvas. We do an entire seminar on that and go into a lot more detail and do it a lot more slowly. And I'll be offering that next week. We don't have it firmly scheduled yet, but you'll get an announcement about some sessions that we will offer next week, if you like, which we will record, and you can always watch at your own at your own convenience. To do that, to watch any of our tutorial videos or the recordings of our Zoom sessions, you can always go to sdccdolvid.org. And let me put that up to where you can see it a little better. There it is. I'll put that in the chat tool. I just put that in the bottom of the chat tool. That's where our seminar recordings are, and we have lots of other tutorials on Canvas and Zoom and other instructional technology tools and techniques on that site. You can just go to the site. To get to the workshop archives, you just click here where it says workshop archives at the top of the screen and that menu bar, and here's one at least of every seminar we've done this year and past years. I mean, this goes back several years. You can also search for videos or video tutorials on any particular subject, like Zoom, by just typing that into the search box and pressing enter. And you can search by multiple keywords as well and try to narrow it down. Here are all our Zoom videos, Zoom video tutorials. So most of everything I've covered today is in here, and you can access it and get just the information you want without having to go through the whole seminar recording again. Though, of course, if you're playing back the seminar recording, you can always scrub through it using the scrub tool in YouTube to get to the point in the presentation where you're interested and watch just part of it. I can't imagine anyone watching one of these recordings in its entirety without serious drugs to keep them entertained or something. So, but we do provide those recordings for you, and they will always be here. I've got several more to upload today, so there'll be quite a few more there by tomorrow morning. All right. Just a couple of things I have left that I want to mention to you here. One is, okay, we've learned how to do an awful lot of things in Zoom here today, but there's one possible need. If you're doing full up lectures in Zoom, there's one possible need that I haven't talked about up to this point, and that's something you would do. That's an activity you would carry out in your physical classroom, probably during every lecture. And what I'm talking about, of course, is the whiteboard hanging on the wall. What if you lecture by getting up and writing on the whiteboard? Can I do that in Zoom? And the answer is yes, you can. And I want to show you the best way to do that. You can, but the best way to do this requires the acquisition of another piece of hardware or the repurposing of one that you might already have. What I'm going to show you is the use of something called a USB document camera. It's something you can acquire. They cost in the $100 range. But especially if you're teaching a STEM subject, I don't know how you teach without it on Zoom. And I've got one sitting here that I can activate. this is a little camera that is sitting next to me on my desk. And I have under that camera, let me focus that so you can see it a little better. And under that camera, I have a legal pad. Could be a piece of paper, anything. And this is the document camera comes with a piece of software that will display whatever the camera is seeing on your computer screen. And then if you're sharing your computer screen with your attendees, as I am here, they will be able to see what the camera sees. I can make this bigger to make it easier to read. And then I can just take my high-tech instructional tool from Sharpie and write on this. And I can do, as you see here, I can do scientific symbology. I'm a chemist by training, so that's a chemical reaction. Or if I'm teaching math, I can write a math equation. And work through a math problem. And show them the process, not just the end result by typing it onto a piece of, onto a Word document and popping it up for them. I can show them the process of solving a math equation. Or I can draw or write anything that I would normally write on the whiteboard in my subject. And the students will be able to see it. They'll be able to see it better than they can see it when you write on the whiteboard in class, especially if they like to sit in the back of the room. And it's easier on you too, because it's easier to write on a piece of paper than it is to write on a whiteboard. This device is exceptionally easy to use and set up, but it's not free, more's the pity. You can get them on Amazon, and the company that I like, the people who basically invented this sort of camera, is called IPEVO, I-P-E-V-O. You can search for that on Amazon or Best Buy or wherever. And here's Amazon's choice, and by God, it's still in stock. These were out of stock a week and a half ago. You couldn't get them for love nor money. This one is their entry model. It's all you'd ever need. It's $100, and you can't get it cheaper anywhere else. IPEVO controls distribution, so everybody pays the same price. But you can get these right now. I don't know what the delivery delay is. It'd probably be a week or two. But you can get this, and you can set up what I just showed you very easily. Let me bring that up again. You can also show three-dimensional objects. Every time you bring the software back up, you have to refocus the camera. There's just a little button on it to do that. Not only can you write on a virtual whiteboard here, but you can also put three-dimensional objects under the camera and share those with your students. For instance, I can show you how to access Zoom via a mobile device using this tool. Zoom works wonderfully well with mobile devices. There's a free Zoom app that you can get from your app store, either Android or iOS, and install. And you can access Zoom meetings. You can even start and originate and host Zoom meetings from your smartphone or your tablet, your iPad, pretty effectively. Teaching an entire class over a smartphone is a bit of a challenge. Trust me, I've done it. I've had to in situations where my internet connection went down at home, and I had to go war driving and find enough cellular signal somewhere to do it. I don't get good cell phone service out here in northern Idaho at home. So I have to drive into town and find a cell tower and sit next to it. But you can run Zoom. Certainly you can attend meetings through a mobile device. Even if you're roaring down the road at 80 miles an hour, you can attend a Zoom meeting. Not while you're driving, please don't Zoom and drive, but you can do it from the passenger seat of the car if somebody else is driving, running down the freeway, and participate in a Zoom meeting just about as effectively as if you were sitting at home in front of your computer. To do that, all you have to do is join the Zoom meeting from your smartphone or your tablet, and you do, in that case, have to load the Zoom app first. When you're accessing your Zoom meetings from a computer, you don't have to load any software first, even if you're hosting the meeting. But if you're attending or hosting a meeting from your mobile device, you do have to load the Zoom app first, but it is free. And you just, if somebody sends you a link to a meeting, and you can, an email, and you can bring that email up on your cell phone, on your smartphone, you can just tap on the link in the email, and your smartphone, it's smart, right, will start the Zoom app automatically and then just drop you into the meeting. It's actually easier to join a meeting on a smartphone or a tablet than it is on the computer. Or you can just open your Zoom app and you can start a meeting, new meeting, or you can join an existing meeting. I do that. It asks for the meeting ID, which is part of that link that you send out to your students. Or you can get it from your screen. My personal meeting ID is 499-5946. You'd think I had that memorized by now. On the other hand, I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. Click join, and it drops you right into the meeting. I got to be careful here. When it asks you how you want to handle the audio, and normally you'll say call using internet audio because you're using your phone for getting into the meeting. But if you have your phone and your computer operating in the same room, you've got to mute the sound on your phone really quickly, or you get a feedback loop set up. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to set that up. So you got to mute both your microphone and your speaker on your phone real quickly, or that feedback that you heard can get out of hand, and it can go on for minutes if you're not careful. Yes.
Could you repeat the name of that gadget, that camera gadget?
You bet you I can, because that's something that would be really handy. It is an IPEVO camera, IPEVO, as you see right there at the top of the screen. And let me show you. If I'm doing this technique here, which I like to call broadcasting in Zoom, if I'm doing this technique, I can always flip back to sharing something else by just minimizing this IPEVO visualizer application, which is what displays the image from your document camera onto your computer screen so you can share it through Zoom. But I can just minimize that for a second, and I can bring Amazon back up here. There it is. And just search for IPEVO on Amazon, IPEVO. And the camera, if you want to buy one of these, the camera you want is this IPEVO 4K ultra high definition 8 megapixel USB document camera, or the IPEVO camera that costs 99 bucks. And it's Amazon's choice, and it's a good recommendation.
Thank you, and I'm happy to meet another fellow organic chemist.
Oh my God, really? Well, it's been a long time since I made my living teaching organic chemistry, but I did do that for 15 years in my youth. And University of Georgia, 1982. Love to talk offline about that.
Absolutely.
All right. So that little unlike most people in these meetings, that little bit of notation I had at the top of the screen there meant something to you. That's great to know. And I don't know how you'd lecture in organic chemistry on Zoom without this camera. Okay, and that also shows you how to get into your get it out, sorry. It's been a long week. How to get into your Zoom meetings and use through mobile devices. And keep in mind that your students, many of your students, if they're attending your class meetings on Zoom, will be attending through a smartphone, because that's what they have. They may not have a laptop or a desktop computer anymore. They may be using nothing but mobile devices. So you always have to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. One aspect of that is that, and I really want to show you this, but yeah, I need to bring that visualizer software back up. That's something that comes with a camera. There it is. Now, right now, of course, what you're seeing on the phone is a picture of the phone, is a picture of the phone, is a picture of the phone, infinitely repeated. But I just want to show you that sometimes when you're sharing screens in your lectures, people viewing it on the phone may have trouble seeing it because the print can get very small. But somebody attending on the phone can pinch Zoom on the phone, and this is a question that I saw in the chat tool earlier. What that means is that you put your thumb and your forefinger on the phone screen and you spread them apart, and that zooms in so that you can see smaller things. So even people who are attending on smartphones can see what you're sharing in your, see the screens that you're sharing from Zoom if they know how to do that. And then, of course, you can reverse that just by pinching your fingers together. That's available on all smartphones in the Zoom app. So that's the first question I was going to answer from the chat tool. That's the end of my presentation here. I'm only 7 minutes over, I'm sorry. That staff meeting put me a little behind today. Now I'm going to answer all the questions that are in the chat tool and any other questions that you have, and I will keep doing that until you either just can't take it anymore and leave, or I get through all the questions. I will keep going until I get through all the questions, and it'll be a part of the session recording. So let me go back to the chat tool here and jump down. And some of this I've already answered, so I'll skip over those. Here's a great question. My classes are those LAD, hand-on demo type things that are challenging to do online. Do you know of any ways or references trying to maximize that delivery via Zoom and or Canvas? Yeah, that's a real challenge. Laboratory courses. I mean, how do you do a laboratory on Zoom? Well, you can do laboratory demonstrations on Zoom, laboratory orientations or demonstrations of the experiment by doing it. If it's something you can do at home, obviously, you don't want to have a flask full of ether on a water bath in your kitchen. But if it's something that you can demonstrate safely at home, you can show it during a Zoom meeting by just turning your webcam around and pointing it at that demonstration. You can even have, if you have more than one webcam, you can plug them both into your computer at the same time. Indeed, you can use the little document camera I was talking about. as a webcam. And instead of pointing it at the document and so on, you can point it at yourself. It's we got a little upside down problem, but I can fix that in the software. So you can use that like a document, like a webcam. It doesn't have the resolution that your good webcam would have, but it'll work. And you can share that with people through the IPvo visualizer software. So you could switch back and forth between your talking head and a demonstration that you're carrying out in your kitchen or in your office or wherever. So you can do things like that. I've had folks say, well, I teach yoga. How am I going to share yoga poses with my students? Well, you can set up your webcam. If you have a good microphone in your webcam, they can hear you from across the room. This little webcam I'm using is a Logitech C920. And the microphones in it are so good that if you're in any kind of reasonable sized room, they can hear you from across the room. Webcams right now are so hard to find though. If we go to Amazon and search for Logitech webcam C920, a lot of people looking for that one. Here it's listed as a bestseller. Yeah, I'm sure it is, but they don't have it in stock, and you can only get it from gougers who want $160 or $150 for it. God, I wouldn't pay that for it. That webcam should cost $50 to $70. And webcam after webcam, well, there's one available from Prime, but I don't know who Razan is. I wouldn't buy that. There's a 922X. That one's not available either. They're just all sold out. I saw Best Buy had some the other day, but they weren't delivering until the middle of April. I know it's nuts right now. But if you have a good webcam with a decent set of microphones in it, you can do that. You can also get external USB microphones, and you can probably get those right now. So you can talk to your students when you're not sitting right in front of your computer. USB microphones for your computer. There's one that one's not bad, and will work from across the room. It's a little condenser mic, so it's pretty good quality, and it's got a little bit of a shotgun type setup on it, so you can point it at yourself and they can hear you pretty well. This blue Yeti is a classic. It's probably the best, most popular USB microphone for a computer, podcasting or Zoom casting like this and so on. It's great. Probably any of those will work. This one obviously is a lot more cost effective at $39 instead of $130 for a blue Yeti. But these come with USB cables that have some length on them, so you can plug that in and move the microphone over to where you're doing your demonstration or whatever. Science labs, there are companies who manufacture science lab kits that can be, that your students can acquire, can be mailed to them, and they can do the experiments at home. Obviously, they're somewhat limited, and they're not cheap, and not all, some of them are quite expensive, so that's not a wonderful alternative either, but it's an option. But it's basically, that's tough, and I'd be happy to carry on that discussion later, and maybe we could brainstorm and come up with some ideas, and I can think of some other tech tools that might help. You would know more about your discipline, obviously, than I would. even if it's organic chemistry, because I haven't made my living teaching organic chemistry in 25 years. Right now, I barely remember. If I saw Friedel or Crafts on the street, I wouldn't recognize them anymore. So. Notice there's only one guy laughing at that. The organic chemist is laughing, but nobody else got that. Sorry, I apologize. Okay. Let's see, Laura, when we sign up, what do we enter in the organization field? Oh, when you sign up at Confer Zoom, you put your school name in there. How do I enter my name in the form, in the, get my name, alter what appears in the chat message? I'm paraphrasing here. How do I control what name appears in the chat message? I think is what's being asked. You can always rename yourself in a Zoom meeting by going into gallery view and right-clicking on the, I don't think I can show you this, but maybe I can. Are you going to see that? No, you're not. I don't have that set up in Zoom. You can right-click on yourself in gallery view, and you'll have an option to rename yourself. And
yeah,
you can type
under more.
Yes, you can do that under more, and
there's rename and edit your profile picture if you want. All that.
Right, but I mean in a live meeting, if you want to change the name in your on the fly in a live meeting, you can just click on your video window and select rename, and you can.
I was looking in the list of list of participants.
Yeah, or you can do it through the participants tool as well. That's correct. Good point. Okay, I covered the question about pinch zooming and what that meant on the smartphone, I hope. Why don't I like the personal link? Well, I do. I think I answered that in the chat tool as well. I like using the personal access link for my personal meeting room to give to my students so they'll always end up in the right place. If there's more to that question, or if I'm missing the point, which I've been known to do, please let me know. Just speak up or email me later.
Yeah, Dave?
Yeah.
That was my question. You had showed both the link that had the number in it and the link that then went on your name, and you seem to prefer the number version. Why?
Gotcha. That's because the meeting ID is embedded in the other link, the one that is under my profile. Come on, Zoom. There you go. There's my personal meeting ID number, and that's embedded in the end of this URL. So if the student wants to enter this meeting, like I showed you on the smartphone, by entering the meeting ID, they have it. It's a small thing. It's not a big deal. The personalized meeting link is cooler in some ways, but or the customized one, but it doesn't work any better. That's a very small consideration, not a big deal. Is the Zoom folder created automatically, or do you have to pre-make it? The Zoom folder on your local hard drive, where you'll find your recordings and your saved chat logs and things like that, is automatically created when you when you either save a chat log from Zoom or record to your local computer. That folder is automatically created for you. It will be created in your default document folder, which will be the documents library on a PC, or I'm not sure what on the Mac. Depends on how you have your Mac set up. I don't do Macs. Last time I owned an Apple computer, other than a portable device was 1986. Isn't placing video links on a Canvas page contrary to opening in a new tab? I thought you said the new tab was better. I see what you're saying. If you're putting just a link in for the video in a module, you want it to open in a new tab. That's not an option when you embed the video into a Canvas page, but it doesn't matter. The video will play just fine in the Canvas page. It's if you try to play it in the Canvas content area in the middle of the screen, other than embedded in a page, you can run into problems. And I understand that being a little confusing. But what I showed you will work fine. You only worry about opening in a new tab if the link, if you're just putting in a hyperlink. If you're actually doing an embed, it doesn't matter because it'll play within the confines of the embed, or you can full screen it and it'll work fine. By the way, when you embed an online video into a Canvas page, you are not, in fact, uploading the video file to Canvas. That embed is just a fancy link. The video still remains on YouTube or whatever other online site it resides on. And that's an important distinction because you really don't want to upload video to Canvas directly. Canvas is not a great video server, and you don't have enough room in your file space in your Canvas shell to put much video in there anyway. And third concern, if you just upload a video file to Canvas and have your students play it from within Canvas, the video in all probability will not be captioned. And that's a no-no even now. If you put it on YouTube, or if you record your Zoom meeting to the Zoom cloud, the video will automatically be captioned, and the captions will be quite good and adequate for your hearing impaired students. But if you just upload a naked video file to the, you should forgive the thought, to or forgive the terminology, to the, directly to Canvas, it's not going to be captioned, and that is a big no-no. Especially since all you got to do to get it captioned is upload it to YouTube and play it from there. That used to be a real problem for us. It's not so much anymore. What is the name of this gadget? That was from 11 o'clock, so I'm guessing you were talking about the IPVO document camera. I think yes, I answered that.
Yeah.
I answered that for you. Good. That's the IPVO 4K or 4K yada yada yada. Their entry level camera.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Phil, I just checked. You're not going to get the document camera till April 18th. Crud. Oh, yeah. That's the world we're living in right now. There is a way that you can improvise using your smartphone as a document camera. Basically, all you need is a way to suspend your smartphone over top of a piece of paper or a legal pad on your desk and hold it there without you having to hold it by hand for 20 minutes while you're writing with the other hand. No, you don't want to do that. I've seen a number of ingenious solutions to that problem. Some years ago, we ran into this issue and we created a video on our on-demand video site, which I have here somewhere. Let me see where I put that. There it is. If you go into the video site and you search for document camera, or just look at all the Zoom recordings, but document camera will get you there faster. Here's our little video that showed how we did it one day. We just took this, let me try to bring this up and show you that in a little bit more detail. I don't want to actually play this, but let me just scrub forward here a little bit. Took a ruler and a rubber band and fixed and strapped the smartphone onto the rubber band, onto the ruler. And then I just took a computer, and then I needed a little more height, so I got to put a box on top of that. Then I put a pencil sharpener on top of the ruler to hold the phone in place. You do this with a stack of books, or execute your own ingenuity and figure out a way to suspend that phone. I've seen people use easels and things like that. There's just any way that you can get that phone suspended up above the piece of paper, reasonably stable. You can then join the Zoom meeting through your phone instead of through your computer, and then just talk and write. And since you're the one talking in the meeting, they'll see your screen, they'll see your video, which is coming out of your smartphone at this point, and they'll be able to see you writing on that piece of paper, or they'll be able to see three-dimensional objects you put under it or whatever. And the camera in the smartphone is actually better than the camera in most of these document cameras that you can buy. They're convenient, but they don't really work any better than this flash up here. I see some of you are old enough to remember who Rube Goldberg was. This is a Rube Goldberg apparatus, a very complex solution to a simple problem that's inefficient, but it works, like the game Mousetrap. The kids' game Mousetrap is a Rube Goldberg machine, and this is another one, but it works. And you don't have to wait till April 18th to put it together. All you need, you got everything you need probably already to set that up. So you can be using a document camera in a half an hour or so. You just have to find enough books to stack up to make a tall enough holder for the phone or whatever. So that's something you can do right away. And again, if you're in a STEM field, I can't imagine doing a Zoom lecture without this capability. And many other subjects as well. I mean, that whiteboard on the wall is just too handy. And this is how you can replace that capability in a Zoom meeting. And that was always the lack that Zoom had as a virtual classroom. So, all right. Let's see, Dave, I got my Logitech 920 from eBay at a very good rate, and it seems to work fine. Actually, I teach photography, but did get your joke. Okay. Thanks, David. That's great. That's a great suggestion. These things are, these document cameras are solid, or the webcams are solid state. They're not likely to be degraded by use or anything like that. The one I'm using here, I think I've had for 5 or 6 years or longer, and they hold up just fine. So buying it used on eBay would be just fine, or from some gouging person who bought them all off Amazon and is selling them for twice what they're worth on eBay. But yeah, that's a great idea. I should have mentioned. At least you can decide whether you want to pay for it or not. There is, by the way, a way to use your smartphone as a webcam as well, with your computer. Now, you can always join the meeting and use the camera in your webcam to talk to your students. I'm sorry, the camera in your smartphone to talk to your students, but you can use your smartphone as a webcam with your computer. If your computer is like a PC like mine is, and it didn't come with a camera built in like an iMac would, That's one good thing for Apple. I applaud them for that. An iMac has a microphone and a camera built in, which is real handy right now. But with a PC, you don't usually get that. So you can use your smartphone as a webcam for Zoom. It requires an app for the phone called Epoch. Well, one of them. There's more than one out there. The one that seems to be most prevalent is called Epoch Cam. And let me find the. I can just show you the website, can't I? EPOCCAM. Sometimes I forget what I can do in Zoom as much as I've used it. It's put out by a company called Kinoni. And it will work quite well. I've run, just to practice with it, I have run some of these Zoom sessions I do using my smartphone as the webcam, and the picture is quite good because the camera in the smartphone is better than the camera in the webcam or in the document camera. There is a little bit of tinkering around that has to be done. Mainly, the main requirement is that you have a smartphone that is either an Android or an iPhone. The iPhone, this app was originally written for the iPhone, so it works a little better on the iPhone, but I hear that it does work adequately well on the Android phones. We don't care about Kino console there. We want Epoch Cam. There's a free version and a paid version of the app. You can try the free version to see if you can get it to work, and once you get it to work, you can buy the paid version. The paid version's only $8. It's not the end of the world. But the main requirement here is that your phone and your computer both be on Wi-Fi, on the same Wi-Fi network. If you've got like a wire going into your computer providing internet access, this won't work unless the computer also has Wi-Fi capability built in, which you can, of course, add to it by buying a little Wi-Fi adapter from Amazon. Right now, you can't go to Fry's, but you can get one probably get one from Amazon that you can plug into a USB port. So you get your computer and and of course, that's assuming you have Wi-Fi at home. But if you have your computer and your smartphone both on the same Wi-Fi network, this actually works pretty well. And there's a nice setup guide. I had to tinker around with it a little bit. The only problem I had in getting it set up was that they didn't tell me that, because when I installed the drivers, in addition to the app on the phone, you have to install some drivers on your computer. And they didn't tell me that after I installed the drivers on your computer, you have to reboot the computer or the drivers don't load. So once I rebooted my computer, it worked like a shot, and I was able to use my smartphone as my webcam. So that's a pretty cheap alternative to that, to buying a webcam. And you can have it before April 18th. You can download the app and have it working in less than half an hour, less than 10 minutes if you're lucky. So that's another option. And let me put that link in the chat tool so you'll have a record of that. To everyone. This got to go everyone. And remember, you can save that chat log in Zoom. In the lower right-hand corner of the chat window, there's a little more button. Actually, it just shows as 3 little dots in a row, an ellipsis. But if you click on that, you can save your chat at any time. So you can keep these links that I've been putting in there and so on for later reference. Always a good idea when you're attending a Zoom meeting. And Kinoni has some other interesting stuff if you want a toy to play with in the meantime to keep you entertained there. Oh, we're getting toward the bottom of the list here. Thanks, Dave. Going to join another session on screencasting. Good for you. Good for you. Screencasting is a fantastic technique for creating multimedia content for your students who are having to take your course online right now, or just for even if you're teaching class in the classroom. It's a very useful technique. It's the easiest way to make instructional videos that there is. And it's a very simple technique. It just involves recording your computer screen while you're talking about it. And anything that you bring up on your computer screen, from a PowerPoint presentation to a website, to a piece of software that you want to show people how to use, you can record what you see on the screen and what you say, and then put it online for students to play it back later. Wait a minute, that's sort of like what we're doing right now, right? I'm recording this session. Everything that you're seeing is being recorded. Hey, that makes Zoom a screencasting tool. Yep, it's one that you already have for free. It's as good, to tell you the truth, it works about as well as any other screencasting tool I know. And I've been screencasting since 1992. It's something I know something about. It's my favorite instructional technology technique. And I do offer classes in screencasting. There's one coming up after spring break. I know we have scheduled. And it's great to hear that somebody else is offering that, because it's a really useful technique for online education. But Zoom's as good a tool for it as anything. Because when I say this Zoom recording, large parts of it, most of it, will be a screencast. And people can watch it later, and they'll see and hear everything they would have seen and heard if they were standing behind me and looking over my shoulder at my computer screen while I was doing the presentation. So it's a terrific technique, and Zoom is as good a tool for it as any. Okay. And let me mention that I mentioned something about PowerPoint, but I'll often get the question, well, how do I share my PowerPoint slides with my students when I'm in Zoom? Do I have to upload my PowerPoint to Zoom? No. We used to have to do things like that when we were using like Blackboard Collaborate for this kind of thing, or older tools. With Zoom, if you want to show a PowerPoint presentation to your students while you're on a Zoom meeting, all you do is bring up PowerPoint, load the presentation you want to give. Don't go into slideshow mode. If you do, it can be difficult to get back, well, not so much difficult to get back out again, but the slideshow takes over your entire screen, and you can't get to your meeting tools in Zoom or anything like that if you need them at the time. So the recommendation is to just share your screen and just bring up the PowerPoint presentation in edit mode, and then just page through it and talk about each slide in turn, and you've done the same presentation that you could do in the physical classroom. And if you're recording the session, you've recorded it. So you can put that recording of your presentation, of your PowerPoint presentation, complete with narration, into YouTube or the Zoom cloud, and share it with your students on demand through Canvas or however. And that is so much more valuable than just posting your PowerPoint slides as a file to Canvas, because most of the information provided during a PowerPoint presentation is provided in the narration. So they get the full thing, rather than just looking at your slides, which are mostly just talking points, right? So another thing you can use Zoom for. All right, That's about everything I have. Squeezed me dry. Do you have any other questions? Not hearing anything. Looks like I've poleaxed everybody here. Everybody's stunned and bereft of the power of speech. I can understand after a 2 hour and 39-minute session, of which 10 of you are still in. That's amazing. Not hearing any others. You're always welcome to email me with questions. Like I said, I'm up to 10 o'clock yesterday morning on replying to email right now. I will keep at it and I will get back to you. And as we go, eventually we're going to slow down on our schedule of meetings since we're beginning to move into operation from preparation. I'll have more time to handle email and so on, and I'll be a little more responsive. I apologize that it's often been 24 hours or more before I've replied recently, but I won't be online in Zoom for 8 hours every day, maybe for the next little while after today, and I can spend more time on email. I apologize. I hate to keep you waiting. David, you're even old enough to know what a poleaxe is. Yes, the jobs we do in our youth, right? A useful tool it could be a useful tool for motivation, yes. Let's not go there. Okay, so let me put my email address in the chat tool. Remember, you can save this chat tool. There it is. Love to hear from you anytime. And without further ado, I'll bid you farewell. I'll be doing a Canvas session this afternoon. Then we have a further schedule of meetings. I'm going to do a few. I talked about Saturday and Sunday. Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon, I'll be doing general question sessions on anything that you want to ask. The meaning of life is 42, if I remember correctly. We'll get that out of the way. And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'll be doing, I think, 3 meetings next week, 3 sessions next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They're about to send out an email about that to everyone. And then beyond that, we have some more sessions scheduled moving toward the end of the semester. And we'll certainly be presenting those. And we may add some to that schedule. When we set that schedule up, we didn't anticipate the entire district going online in 2 weeks. So we'll probably add some to that. But you're always welcome to contact me by email, and you're always welcome to ask me for a one-on-one Zoom session. I know I haven't been able to do that for the last couple of weeks because I've been doing, like I say, 8 hours a day on Zoom in these scheduled sessions or group sessions. But normally I do like to offer the option for one-on-one Zoom sessions. And I have somebody waiting for me right now in this session, so I'm going to try to go ahead and get to them right away, Sam. But please contact me when I can help. Oops, there is I did get one more question here. It's a good question, and I'd like to do that before I end this part and then go into a one-on-one meeting. Don't worry, Sam, you don't have to be quick. All you have to do is be patient, and I'll be right there. But a good question here. I have 3 Canvas shells for identical classes. I assume you have 3 sections of the same class. You have a Canvas shell for each. Is there a way to merge all the students into one shell so I don't have to duplicate each one? There is a way to do it. Unfortunately, it has to be done before the semester starts. It's called cross-listing of the shells in Canvas, and you can call the Canvas faculty support hotline number, and they will do that for you before the beginning of the term. Right now, it's just not an option, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. So you have to have 3 separate Canvas shells with the same content in them. You do not, however, have to build those shells from scratch one at a time. You can put your content and put all your assessments and so on in one, and then copy that content over into the other 2. And I can show you how to, if there's if you're not comfortable with doing that, just send me an email and I'll send you a tutorial on how to do that. There's no point in having to do the same, to build 3 shells just alike. You can even do that if you don't build the first shell out completely before you have to start using the shells. You can put the content that you have ready now into the first shell and copy that over to the other 2. And then as you add more content to the first shell, you can copy the new stuff over into the other 2 shells without having to manually add it to them as well. And again, I can send you a tutorial on how to do that. That's it, I think. Sam, if you'll just hold on for a minute, we'll talk. And everybody else, thank you so much for coming. I hope you got something out of it. I'm sure it was worth everything you paid for it. And I will look forward to seeing you and hearing from you again. Hope you have a great spring break, and please stay safe out there. Enough of you are my age or in that general category that we're really on the bubble. This thing will kill us, all too likely. So stay safe, stay inside, and talk to people on Zoom. Take care. Bye-bye. And I'm going to stop the recording now.